There's an old policy that Volvo can use as a kind of tax loophole in the US so that they can sell their vehicles, their EVs, in the US and basically claim all of their tax back from the Trump tariff and now the Biden tariff, which is 100% pretty much. So they can get almost 100% of that back. I feel like they can actually do this. So the original Trump tariff, that stuck 27.5% tax on top of their EVs that they imported from China, made from Chinese parts, into the US. They had been planning on taking advantage of this with their highly anticipated Volvo EX30, and they were expected to bring this car to the US for 37,000-ish US dollars. And then you can basically get the 7,000 off if you get the car through a lease deal. So either way, it's just a really good price for a really, really good car. So let's get into this for a few minutes because it is well worth hearing, I think. Hey folks, thanks for tuning in. I'm Ben Alexander and I make EV news videos from the latest EV news all over the world. I've got a particular interest, or a keenness I should say, in EVs that are considered affordable or that ordinary people could buy, not just millionaires or billionaires, you know, $200,000 vehicles, things like that. So it doesn't matter what manufacturer it is, but typically these days it's you know, MG, BYD. But if Toyota and Honda started coming out with EVs that we could kind of afford, that you know, that people would want to buy, I'll talk about those things. The Volvo EX30 is, of course, it's fantastic and it's affordable. Apart from the fact that you displayed it in yellow last month in London, it is generally a really, really nice car. Huge amounts of people have put orders in for that. I'll be heading back again to Australia to renovate my house in the next couple of weeks, and I'll post an occasional picture if I'm not able to make videos for a few days at a time, so that you know what I'm up to. So if you want to, you can subscribe and then you'll see my posts, my pictures, and a bit of a writing bit whenever I post things. Also, if anybody wants to sell me in Australia a 48-volt house battery, any size, just let me know. Email will be in the description below, so just feel free to check me what you've got for sale. I'm just kind of looking for something, you know, 5, 10, 15, 20 kilowatt hours, something like that. So for the Volvo EX30, it is currently made in China, not the US. And of course, Volvo is owned by Geely, very, very Chinese company. And it's way cheaper to make an EV in China and then sell it abroad, which means it would be subject to the new higher tariffs if imported directly to the US, 100%, so therefore it's not really that cheap anymore. However, if Volvo shifts its production to the South Carolina plant or another non-Chinese facility, it could potentially avoid these tariffs. And they know this because they've mentioned it, and take advantage of incentives that are available under the US policies aimed at boosting domestic EV production. So basically, if they just made the car, and the company is owned by China, but they made the car in the US, they could sell it in the US, make loads of money, or they could do it in Mexico, as a lot of people know. And I know a lot of people watch my videos. You also watch other videos and you read about this stuff, so you know probably about some of the intricacies here. Volvo currently manufactures several models in the US at their Ridgeville, South Carolina plant. The primary vehicle produced there is the Volvo S60, which is a luxury mid-sized sedan or saloon in the UK. The facility opened in 2018, and that marked the first time Volvo produced cars in the US, and has since been a really important site for domestic and global distribution of the S60 model. So a lot of them that are made there get shipped all around the world and sold locally. Also, not just the S60, but the Ridgeville plant will also start producing the full electric Polestar 3 as a really big, you know, significant investment to expand its production capabilities. So they're going to be making an EV there, and they can sell it in the US, which actually will be very competitive, won't it? So the loophole that Volvo may use to mitigate the impact of this 100% tariff on imported EVs primarily revolves around a couple of strategies related to the US trade laws and specifics of the Inflation Reduction Act. So you can read, this is available on the internet, you can read this. There's an old tariff, a US tariff refund law, that basically means companies with significant manufacturing operations in the United States should be able to qualify for refunds on import duties. Since Volvo has a manufacturing plant in Ridgeville, South Carolina, where it produces the S60 and soon to be the Polestar 3, it might be able to leverage this law basically to get refunds on the tariffs paid for imported components or vehicles. So as far as I can see, they're absolutely able to request this refund, and this may be a risk for Volvo because, of course, you could argue that the US don't want these Chinese cars coming in and disturbing their market. So as we've seen with loads of other things in life, even though they might fit the bill, they might be able to actually tick all the boxes and get this refund, but through the simple fact is that the US might just not want it. They just don't want these cars to get the discount. So they'll just come up with a reason, send them an email back and say, no, we're not going to permit this, so you can't get your refund. But then again, the US is a huge market that Volvo will tap into. It is likely that they will try to do this and try to do a soft blow into the market, try and get in, see if they can get this permitted. If Volvo moves the production of the EX30 to the US, then basically, or another plant outside of China, it could basically avoid the new tariffs altogether, and this would also allow Volvo to continue offering competitive prices without being impacted by the 100% tariff. You will have heard over the last couple of years that companies such as BYD have been looking at sites in Mexico, and the new plant is expected to have a production capacity of around 150,000 vehicles a year and be opened by the end of this year, 2024, avoiding the EV tariffs, which is clever, I think. But I mean, people want to buy these cars because they're simply better than what other companies are selling, you know, like Volvo's, Geely's, the MG4, for example. All sorts of these little cars from these companies, they're really, really good and very competitively priced. And so people will buy them if they can. And that's the issue. Volvo aimed to sell the EX30 for $37,000 US. And I can say for sure, because I've spoken to some people at Volvo, 75% of EV sales currently on the books with Volvo, the orders now are for the EX30. So to say that this car is an important car for this year would be an understatement. I think it's 3/4 of their sales are for that one car. So what do you think? Am I mad? You know, but I really do think Volvo are going to go for it. I really think they will at least try to see if they can get this approved. And if you look back at the history of Geely, for example, they are notoriously a brave, courageous company. So what do you all think? What do you think they'll do?